Assalamu alaikum everyone, I'm your host Mariam for today's episode of the Youth Talk Show Zap FM Digital powered by Zapist. I'm here today with three of my guests to gain some insight on blind obedience and the erosion of constitutional supremacy in Pakistan. To me, it is a very interesting topic because I believe we see a lot of it, a lot of examples of it happening in this country. Before we dive in, I would like to present a disclaimer that this is supposed to be a university project by university students and it is not meant to hurt any individual's feelings, opinions, or beliefs in any way, so please take it lightly. Now, on to our three guests. Would you like to introduce yourselves, please?
My name is Karathan Faruqi.
My name is Mariam Rashid.
And my name is Roland.
First of all, I believe you guys chose a very interesting topic. So, Noor, I would like to ask you first and understand what inspired you to choose this topic and to focus on blind obedience and the erosion of constitutional supremacy in our country.
Okay, so basically, I chose this topic because I believe in a lot of Pakistan's political years in the past, there has been a lot of issues, and constitutional violation is one of them. Since blind obedience means that people are constantly following one leader without questioning them and whether their actions are democratic or whether they are constitutional. In the past years, people were supporting some decisions and they did not focus on the consequences, and they believed that it was necessary for stability. However, when people start following blind obedience, this weakens the constitutions over time. So I focus on this topic because blind obedience becomes very dangerous because when there's unquestioned loyalty, and it can be very necessary for citizens' rights.
Kurutulain, do you think, or could you expand on any examples or any incidents in Pakistan that show the erosion of constitutional supremacy?
There are many events that show the erosion of constitutional supremacy. In my report, I talked about Iman Mazai's case, where her and her husband were sentenced to prison for 10 years just because they made Twitter posts on supporting Pashtun and Baloch activists. And another case which I think that played a key role was Zia-ul Haq's military coup, where he overthrew Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's government illegally, and the Supreme Court let it happen.
Mariam, do you think political parties in Pakistan genuinely care about constitutional supremacy, or is it only when it benefits them?
Okay, so I feel like no political parties do not support the constitution. They only support the constitution or protect the constitution only when it's benefiting them. The study of doctrine of necessity was also an example that of the unconstitutional actions which weakened the democracy.
Noor, coming back to you, since we're talking about democracy and the role of public in democracy, what role does the public play? What role does the public silence play in eroding democracy?
Okay, so public silence is when people follow orders without any sort of questioning. And public silence becomes very dangerous because this gives governments a chance to pass on some unconstitutional laws. Since there's no security, these laws can be followed for a very long time. Then, over time, what happens is that the constitution starts to become more weak as people are very scared to ask questions. This could be due to fear or uncertainty among many leaders. So, therefore, the constitution becomes weak and the constitutional violations start to happen more often.
We know of a few examples in Pakistan, like the May 9th incident, and there's multiple incidents where we have seen the army, the military coming into action. So, Kurtanan, how significant is military influence in a constitutional crisis?
Well, military plays a key role in this. Military has been involved in politics ever since the independence, especially ever since the Ayub Khan's coup in 1958, where he overthrew the parliamentary system, where he ended parliamentary rule and introduced military rule. This created an example for the later military coups. For example, the coup led by Zia-ul Haq in the Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's regime, as well as Pervez Musharraf's coup, in which he overthrew Nawaz Sharif's government. But also, another point is that these interventions aren't always direct. They're also passive in ways like they have influence over elections, or they place pressure on the political leaders to act a certain way or to say certain things.
Coming back to Noor, or actually, I'll keep this question open. Are there any relevant articles in the Constitution that you feel like have been broken or should be applied and relate to this, the constitutional erosion and the blind obedience?
So there is Article 4, which states that people should be treating according to the law. They should have the specific right. Because during the period of martial law, citizens were mainly being detained without any sort of legal procedures and they were being punished unfairly. So this Article 4 states that people should be given proper legal procedures and they should not be given any sort of punishment. It should also depend over what crime they have committed. Then there is Article 19, which states freedom of speech. Now, freedom of speech means that people should have the right to express their opinions and they can also raise concerns about any sort of issue. One example of this could be that journalists raised their concerns when there was constitutional violation during that period.
Well, speaking of journalists and activists, why are journalists and activists often the first targets during political instability?
Well, to answer it simply, the journalists have impact on public opinions. They shape public opinions. So, in authoritative regimes or undemocratic states, the first thing that government wants to do is to control the narrative.
Yes.
So they control the narrative, they control the information flow, they control the narrative, and the independent journalists ask uncomfortable questions that the normal audiences or the normal civilians can't ask them. They expose abuse, and they give you factual information. They give you factual information. That's why they are the primary targets. Also, to control journalists and to, not let the information flow. Because of this, we go through a process called self-censorship. So, us as audiences or civilians, we see that journalists are being silenced or they're being abused for saying what they believe in, the freedom of speech, etc. But so the audiences see that and then they want to be silenced themselves because they don't want to go through the same things that the journalists did.
Absolutely, I feel like we do see that in Pakistan a lot. We do have examples of a lot of journalists and activists that have been detained and that have been barred from speaking and even killed, which is very extreme. What happens when people start prioritizing personalities over constitutions?
When people start prioritizing personalities over the constitutions will start to weaken over time. As people are going to focus on the actions which are being performed by a certain person rather than focusing on whether those actions are lawful or unlawful, democracy starts to become unstable. And when a leader is aware that citizens are more focused towards their personality, they can pass down any sort of laws and they will believe that they're more superior. So they are also aware that citizens are more focused towards public loyalty rather than the constitutional values.
Mariam, are there any countries that are doing better than Pakistan in terms of constitutional supremacy? And what do you think we can learn from those countries?
I feel like Germany and Turkey are doing so much better in terms of Pakistan because they're not prioritizing the constitution to be powerful. They just want the constitution to be stronger. So I feel like we should also implement this here in our country, and the military should be within the limits and the courts should be free.
And lastly, what role should universities and students like us should be playing in constitutional awareness or political awareness, you could say?
Okay, so students and universities should be open towards discussion, should promote critical thinking, and also should spread awareness and stand against the injustice. People should not follow the leaders blindly. Instead, they should see whoever is right and should focus on the particular individual to increase the democracy.
Having discussed these articles, what do you guys have to say about freedom of speech? And do you think it's taken too blindly and irrationally to the point कि हम किसी की feelings or opinions or किसी की privacy को hurt कर रहे हैं?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. A lot of times people comment on women's or even males' body or face and they get bullied for it. On Twitter, there's like proper cancel culture on Twitter, which lasts for weeks, and I can't even imagine the mental burden they go through with that.
And also I feel like cyber harassment, especially
Yes.
for women, काफी ज़्यादा होती है, and then they
Yes.
have no one to turn to. So well, coming back to blind obedience, could you guys actually expand on what blind obedience actually is for anyone that might not know?
Basically, blind obedience means when you're following any sort of orders or any command from a certain party or constitution. It's not necessary that it's only related to constitution, but it generally means that you're following orders without questioning them or without raising your voice or concerns about a certain issue. So that's what basically blind obedience is
Yeah.
about.
Just to add to that, I previously said that military rule is. There were a lot of times that military intervened. They overthrew parliamentary government that were democratically elected, and people still follow them, and the military rule is still popular. Like मैंने अपने ज़माने like अपने लोगों को या फिर पुराने ज़माने जो ज़िया उल हक वगैरह के रेंज में हैं, like I previously mentioned, just to add to her point, that we have seen in history that military has intervened a lot. The last was Pervez Musharraf's reign. Like I said earlier, that military has intervened a lot in the history of Pakistan, but it's still popular. Like I've seen कि मेरे relatives अभी भी बहुत support करते हैं military rule को over the democratic system. And now अब उनका कोई trust भी नहीं रहा democratic system में, because elections are rigged, mostly allegedly. And अगर वो आ भी जाते हैं power में, then their tenure isn't 5 years or 4 years that's
Yeah.
promised.
I think it's actually quite valid कि हमारे काफ़ी सारे relatives, even though it's very controversial, but it's valid कि वो क्यों military power को इतना वो करते हैं, support करते हैं, because हम like you said हम देख चुके हैं कि अब तो किसी के 5 साल भी पूरे नहीं होते. There's cases, there's impeachment, there's defamation, so it completely makes sense for them to think
Yeah.
like that.
It's harmful for the constitution and democracy, and they don't see it.
Yeah, exactly. हम क्योंकि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की बात कर रहे हैं, of course there's multiple rights. Let's come on to the right to education. अब right to education में obviously it's the government's duty to provide education, especially to areas जिधर it's not easily accessible.
yeah.
Yeah, and जिधर like accessible नहीं है, or maybe they're not just like even accessible in economic terms, or even if just like travel or something you could say. तो इस बारे में, and we often see कि private institutions or private NGOs, they step in and they take over their
Yes,
duties
they
and
take over,
responsibilities. So what do you guys have to say about that, and do you think, what do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, so basically the right to education is just a responsibility of the government, but when the government is like failing to, so yes, basically the right to education is just the responsibility of the government. But जब government नहीं दे पाती right to education to the citizens, the private companies jump in, and like schools like Beacon and City, etc. Also, the NGOs are also taking over the right to education by providing facilities to the orphan people and the women who divorced.
And lastly, the right to protest. We do see a lot of protests. काफी different चीज़ों में होते हैं. We have the Aurat March. We have protests for certain countries that are going through genocides. So, do you think ये protests अच्छे हैं या नहीं हैं? And how much do you think they're influenced by social media? And is that influence actually good or bad?
Well, social media पर एक तो firstly people don't realize that when women are protesting Aurat March, I'm talking about Aurat March, they are exercising their rights.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
But people feel free to criticize or even defame this entire thing, which is completely wrong in my opinion, because they're exercising their right,
Yeah.
fundamental right.
Also, Aurat March is it's very it has two opinions, and it has mixed opinions, and it's also misunderstood many ways.
Yeah, I believe so as well. कि हम लोग उसको like a lot of people twist the words and the
Yeah.
idea of it, and they don't actually get it. Or इसलिए इतने ज़्यादा critics
Yeah,
होते
they don't
हैं.
actually get the purpose of it.
Yeah, so thank you so much to our 3 guests for taking the time to be here with us and discussing such important information. And with that, we can wrap up this conversation knowing the reality that the constitutional supremacy can only survive when institutions and citizens place the Constitution above personalities and political interests, and they take in the larger view and include everyone. At the heart of this conversation is the big question: what happens when people stop questioning power and authority and blindly follow it? No democracy can survive if loyalty to individual gains power over loyalty to the Constitution. So once again, thank you so much for joining us at Zab FM Digital, powered by Zabest. I'm your host Mariam, and these were our guests. Thank you so much for being here again, and I hope to see you tune in again soon.